path that you are walking is not unknown to the universe. What actually exists is one unbroken wholeness. I wrote it half a century ago, and I was shocked. The words fit exactly what I have come to after decades of studying, learning, expanding, asking, being with an angel. Tell me, Genesis, why did I have to go through all of that? I described it exactly a half a century ago. And Genesis said, so you will know it. And I do. The universe itself is a miracle. And we are the universe. We are the miracle. But it's not plural. It's you. You are the universe. You are the miracle. In this DeepCast, I want to share with you, and through that sharing, try to express something about what my experience is as I labor under the illusion that I'm learning something about anything that's separate from me. Now, we talked about this in the last DeepCast, about you and what that word means. What I want to share with you is what happened in the last couple of nights. And before that, I'll share with you what happened about a half a century ago. I wrote a book called The Dancing Wooly Masters. I was living in San Francisco. I was sleepwalking through my life. I was probably about 35 or 36, maybe 37. And I got interested in something called quantum mechanics. Never had an interest in science or in writing, but I decided I wanted to write a book about it, to share about it. And what I wanted to share was this, that in some way, this discipline of physics called quantum mechanics was interesting to me because I sensed that it brought its practitioners and everyone who studied it right up to the limits of their intellect. That it allowed us to see not only the hegemony, the power of the intellect, but also where it ends, where it just stops. And the pioneers of quantum physics, and this all happened between 1905 and 1927, they discovered that too. I know they did. They didn't write about it exactly in those terms. They did it in physical terms of physical theories and their interpretation of a physical theory. The point I'm getting at is that quantum theory was a real challenge to describe because the mathematics of it are called abstract. And that means that there is no element in the mathematical formalism or plural formalisms of quantum theory that interested me, that correlated to anything that we could see or experience. They didn't relate to anything in the physical world. Some of the mathematics did, but when you took the whole thing did not relate to physical reality. What did it relate to? It related to the realm of the very, very small subatomic particles. And the paradigm shattering, theory shattering, discipline upsetting discovery was that in that realm, our experiences of what the world is are not true. And I mean that literally. What physicists discovered was that they couldn't predict exactly what happens to these things called individual subatomic particles. They could only describe probabilities. Now, I know this sounds abstruse, but it was interesting to me because it was so different. The conclusion that they came from all of this was that there is no existing independently of us. More fundamental reality made of things. The things are not there. The things come into being when we look for them. Wow. Well, that sounds a bit mystical. And looking back on it, it has been said by mystics in almost those same terms. So I wrote this book. And at the end of the first part of it, which is about quantum mechanics, the chapter is called The End of Science. And I wrote a description of what the physicists had concluded about reality in those last few paragraphs. And they were beautiful paragraphs. The conclusion was of the physicists that there's several different conclusions possible depending upon how you started your analysis and what your line of reasoning is. So you can see analyses, reasoning, this is all very intellectual, in fact, completely intellectual. But one of those lines of reasoning and experimental results indicated this: possibly one way to interpret this abstract formalism, mathematics that doesn't connect to reality the way we see it, is this: that what actually exists is one unbroken wholeness, every aspect of which, put it this way, one unbroken wholeness, no aspect of which is separate from any other aspect or from the wholeness itself. Isn't that gorgeous? I was reading that a few nights ago. I wrote it a half a century ago. And by the way, the Dancing Woolley Masters, an overview of the new physics, got its name from an idea about people who dance. In Indian culture, they dance around a goddess called Kali. Kali represents everything. She represents illusion. Everything you think you know dangles from one of her earrings. Your most profound discovery is a little bell around her ankle. And the Indians know that there's nothing else to do about Kali. She can't be influenced. She can't be understood. So they simply honor her. And my insight was that physicists think that they are describing the world the way it really is, or they are describing reality. But the Dancing Woolley Masters know better. They know that the true love of all dancers is dancing. And that thrilled me. And I wrote an entire book about it. And the book won the American Book Award for Science. I keep mentioning that because it startled me. I'd never written a book and I never liked science. But it was so fulfilling and thrilling and fun to write that book. It couldn't have produced good results. It was just too much fun and good feeling. But it did. I read those words, not those words about the dancers loving dancing, but about the unbroken wholeness, a few nights ago. And I was taken by how beautifully they're written. I thought, did I write that when I was 35 or 37? Could I have written that beautifully, that exquisitely, that accurately? But what I really was shocked at was those words described what I am now, what I know now. I didn't reason it. It didn't start with Max Planck's discovery in 1905 of black body radiation. I don't know when it started. I don't know if there's anything in the universe that has a beginning and has an end. And I was shocked. The words fit exactly what I have come to after decades of studying, learning, expanding, asking, being with an angel. of refusing to think that I could really be this angel's student, of the angel needing to tell me, Gary, you are capable of what we are discussing. If you were not, why would you, among billions of souls on your earth, be one of my students? Ponder that. I did ponder that. It challenged every bit of self-loathing and lack of self-worth that I had, and I'm still challenging those frightened parts of my personality. But how could those words written so long ago, but not long ago, a half century seems a long ago, one of the dear colleagues that I'm working with, when I said that, she said, yeah, I wasn't born there. That was my whole life. To me, it was not even a blink. It's still happening. And I could not believe it. What I couldn't believe was why Genesis took me through this entire decades-long learning. I didn't even begin it until I was halfway through my life, as I know it now. And for 40 years, I have been experiencing this, feeling awed, feeling special, that I know so much about what's happening in the universe, about a new consciousness, about what's in it and the difference between the new consciousness and the old. And stretching, always stretching. Well, if this is so, it can't be so, that's so too, and this is why it is. Not rationally, not intellectually, but with the angel's help. The angel never tells me, do this, do that, this is the way it is. The angel helps me understand my experiences so that I can use them more wisely and act more compassionately. But I was frustrated, and I could not understand, and I kept asking Genesis, why? Why, Genesis, did you take me through all of this? Some of it's been so hard. All of it's been so rich. All of it's been so deep. All of it's been so beyond comprehension. All of it's been beyond anything I could have imagined. I've experienced love like I've never experienced it before. I never knew it existed like this before. That's Linda. How could I love someone like that? How could someone like that love me like that? No second agendas. Free, easy, lightness. Being happy when I first saw her second time. And when she moved to the little town I was in and then into a cabin with me. Just experiences beyond anything I ever thought possible. And that continued for year after year after year. And then began to include frightened parts of my personality again. And I asked Genesis, why did I have to go through all of that? It wasn't a complaint. It was simply frustration. Why? And I remember the very first thing Genesis told me, one of the very first when we were together, was, Gary, the path that you are walking is not unknown to the universe. I had no way of knowing then the fullness and the depth of what he just told me. I do now. A little bit of it. And the why was so big in me. Tell me, Genesis, why did I have to go through all of that? Again, I wrote about it 50 years ago. I described it exactly a half a century ago. And Genesis said, so you will know it. And I do. But in that process, it shattered every expectation I have or could have of sense of accomplishment in what I do. I've already done it. And so have you. The universe is beyond my comprehension, but this is part of it. And I asked Genesis, have I done this before? He said, yes. I already knew he'd told me that when he said the path you're walking is not unknown to the universe. I said, have I done this many times? And he said, many. So here we are. Here I am. Here you are. For me, I cannot experience a sense of accomplishment in doing something new. All of this was beyond me as a boy in Kansas. All of this was beyond me as a new student at Harvard. All of this was beyond me as an infantryman and then a second lieutenant in the Army. All of this was beyond me as a paratrooper and a Green Beret. All of this was beyond me as someone lost in himself and superiority and addicted to sex with women. All of this was beyond me while I searched for treasures in the Florida Keys. All of this, all of this, all of this. I didn't accomplish anything. But was that the reason for any of it, so that I would have a sense of accomplishment or contribution? It's not for a sense of this or a sense of that. The question is, why do any of it? Why would I do it again? Why would I continue doing anything? And there's only one reason that comes to me now, and it's the one that I saw the morning after Linda's soul went home. I love you. Why else would anyone do anything once they know what I know? And you will know what I know. I know that too. We are on a path, and we call it evolution. But the evolution isn't leading where we think it is. Five-sensory humans are, at this moment, becoming multi-sensory humans, and within a generation and a half, all of them will be. And their challenge, like mine, like yours, will be to create authentic power with their awareness, to act and speak with love, while fear is active in them. And eventually they will. You will. And beyond multi-sensory humans is calling to us now yet a third step in this evolution. Evolution which arbitrarily began with five-sensory humans. My understanding of it. And beyond that is universal human. A five-sensory human identifies with its personality. A multi-sensory human identifies with its soul. Real power is alignment of the personality with the soul. That is authentic power. Authentic power is love. There's no difference. There's no higher power. That's our course. That's our curriculum in the Earth School. And beyond the universal human identifies with life, big L, life itself. Realms of experience and evolution yet to come. And beyond that, what lies beyond that? That is the end of human evolution. That is the end of the evolution of human. Beyond the universal human, we step into realms of experience that are beyond human. And we experience ourselves as life without a single focal point, so to speak. This reminds me of my sweet brother Jesus, not telling me, but telling whoever put it eventually into something called a Bible. The kingdom of heaven is within you. That's archaic language. What I think he's saying is the universe. Everything beyond what you can imagine is in you. And then he told me, Genesis that is, you can change anything within you. Everything is within you. So that's where we are now. That's where I am now. And all of us are on the same path, but in our own way. We're each unique expressions of the universe. And there is no limit to the ways that love and compassion and kindness can come into the human experience. Perhaps there are as many ways as there are humans. I think that. But I know now that there is it sounds confusing even to say it, a purposeless purpose for living, and that's to love. And that means no agenda, nothing to come out of it, no reason for it, but because that's who you are. And what you are is the universe, and the universe is love. And all of this was beyond what I, Gary Zukav, as a boy in Kansas, going through all of these experiences, could have guessed. And I still don't know if it's even true. All I know is I'm still growing, I'm still experiencing, I'm still evolving, and there is no end to evolution. The universe itself evolves. And what does that mean? It means, in terms of us, moving into greater, less limitation, and more freedom. There's nothing in the universe that cannot evolve. And we are not only of the universe, we are the universe. So what word is left? The word I would have used before is miracle. Everything is a miracle, but a miracle from whose perception? Well, I think from the perception of the universe itself is a miracle. And we are the universe. We are the miracle. But it's not plural. It's you. You are the universe. You are the miracle. So this DeepCast is a little different from the ones I've done before because many of the ones that I've done before, I wanted to share with you what I've learned from Genesis, what I've learned from being with Linda, what I've learned from loving so much, what I've learned from being so filled with hatred and anger and jealousy and despair and despondency and superiority and judgment, and what I've learned from being so grateful and so patient and so content and so many other things. And I've come also to experience the enormous range of the human psyche. It includes all of those things, all of those things. Exhilaration and wanting to hate, wanting to kill. And that's our learning vehicle. That's what a personality in the Earth School is. So don't think that if you have those things, you've missed the mark or you've fallen behind. No, you're still discovering what it's like to be a human in the Earth School. And why would anyone ever want to be a human in the Earth School? Turns out, from what I know now, some souls do. Actually, many souls do. But not all of them are given that gift. It is a gift. Which is another way of saying that everything in the Earth School is holy, including you. And you are a soul incarnate in the Earth School, a powerful and compassionate, creative and loving spirit. Now I'm moving a little into teaching, but I want to get back into just sharing, because one of the things I've realized is this. You really are. We really are. I really am a powerful and creative, compassionate and loving spirit. What does powerful and creative mean? It means that no matter what intention I hold, whether it's one of love or one of fear, whether it's judgment or acceptance, I am creating powerfully, moment by moment. I am reshaping, you might say. No, I am creating my unique expression of the universe. So I'm doing that as powerfully as if I were creating with an intention of love, of compassion, of kindness. I am not becoming a more powerful creator as I become more loving. I'm becoming a more aware creator. And so are you. And I share this with you so that when you are jealous or upset or in anxiety or inferior and need to please or superior and disdaining everyone, you are creating powerfully. And when you love, when you have compassion for your fellow students in the Earth School, when your heart reaches out to them with kindness, or theirs to you, and you accept it, you are also creating powerfully. And the question then becomes simple. What do you want to create? Love or fear? That's what we're in the Earth School to answer. And we answer it almost every moment, because every experience of acting or speaking with love creates consequences that are constructive and healthy. And every moment of acting or speaking from fear creates the opposite: painful, unhealthy, destructive consequences. And this is how the Earth Scroll works. It's amazing. I've marveled at this, but now even more so. It works without direction. It works without instruction. It works without expectation. It allows each individual in the Earth School to experience what love creates and what fear creates in the life of that human. That's our curriculum. We get the lesson of choice. Not that we have choice, but that we are choice. And we cannot stop choosing choice. And every choice is a creative act. And we are the creator. We are the act. And we are the created. That's part of the miracle. The miracle can't ever be understood, but it can be experienced. And when you touch the universe, and it touches you for a moment, it takes you beyond the limitations, all of the limitations of a personality, any limitations. So when you have an experience of gratitude or contentment or patience, real patience, patience like the ocean, the calm ocean, you can't say, well, I'm really angry. I'm going to need a whole cup of patience. And you walk to the ocean and take a cup, and there's that much left. Or I am so angry. I so much want to kill someone or kill myself. And you walk to the ocean, you say, I'm going to take a 5-gallon jar to the ocean. I need that much patience with myself now. Now the ocean is still there. You are still the ocean. You are still the raging sea. You are still the calm, sweet trade wind. And you are the destructive destroyer, Shiva, come as a hurricane. All of that is you. This is a cause for celebration. Who would celebrate? Only a frightened part of your personality that thinks it is not that already. But the parts of your personality and you that already partake of that consciously are the celebration. It's been so good speaking with you again. I always enjoy speaking with you. Genesis has told me something every time we've spoken. I never looked at it as actually an instruction or a suggestion. But now I do. After every session, Genesis tells me, enjoy yourself. All is perfect. And I share that with you. I'm Gary Zukav.